Hey, y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, as part of our Breeders' Cup Division Series, we're going to today look at the Turf, which should be a spectacular race. The Europeans have are shipping in some of their very best, and you don't see that too often. So it should make for a really exciting race. So let's take a look at it. Okay, so here's the field for the Turf, and as you can see, it's dominated by Europeans, as it often is. And we've got some real special horses in this year's rendering. Auguste Rodin, and please note that is the correct pronunciation. He's the sculptor of the Thinker, if you want a frame of reference. So I've heard many people pronounce it in many different ways, but it is Auguste Rodin. And sorry to be a stickler there. You've got you've got him, and you've also got the King of Steel, Mostadaf, and Shariar from Japan. So there's some high-powered horses in this race. It should make for a real fun one. The first we're going to look at is Auguste Rodin, and you can see he's got the stellar European connections, Aidan O'Brien training, and Magnier Tabor, Sangsters Gangsters owning. I'm going to guess Ryan Moore will be the jockey, but we'll just have to see. This one has won the English Derby, and that's about as good as it's going to get in Europe, and has been a high-profile horse all year. You see, most recently, he ran in the Irish Champion Stakes that he won. So let's take a look at that. Here's the Irish Champion Stakes, and you'll note Auguste Rodin is in the two-hole wearing the Michael Tabor silks. That should be familiar to all of us. And see a pretty small field in there. Look at King of Steel. He is a monster. That's him right in the middle in the blue and white cap for Adamo or Amo Racing.
Pushed over the outside to try and push the pace is Point Lonsdale, followed by Ernesto, and then King of Steel. A gap in the field to Nashua and Alflela. Continuing towards the final mile, and it's Luxembourg, Point Lonsdale, and Auguste Rodin, the stable companions, leading Ernesto in the white collars. Spreewell is no back to fifth.
You see, he's just going to rate off
the
leaders there.
Right across from the stand, 6.5 furlongs to go, and they're getting spaced out as it's Luxembourg and Shabby Heifer.
And they got the Noah's Ark formation, 2 by 2 there.
McMulligan lodged in second. Auguste Rodin and Ryan Morden third, followed by Ernesto and Frankie Dettori. Spreewell, Shade Ford the inside of King of Steel and Kevin Stott, and then Nashua. Holly Doyle, and bringing up the rear is Alflela and Jim Crowley as they pass the halfway stage. Little in the order has changed from first to last. It's Luxembourg by a half to Point Lonsdale, 2.5 in front of Auguste Rodin in third.
Luxembourg is pretty well thought of horse over in Europe as well. Out on the lead there.
Who goes by, ridden along Spreewell, then Nashua, and pushed along is Alflela. Coming up to the 3 mark, and they're tightening.
This was a pretty good field. King of Steel finished second in the Derby at 60 to 1, but proved to be a much better horse. And you see them getting going now.
Straighten at the 2, and it is Luxembourg from Auguste Rodin.
You see, Luxembourg is not going to give it up that easily.
Moving on from King of Steel.
Isn't even fully extended yet.
Nashua runs on the outside, inside the final furlong, and one from the rail. Auguste Rodin leads 150 yards to go.
He's getting into him though to get the most out.
Over the top of the outside. Auguste Rodin is in
He got up in time. Hope that race car didn't have a heart attack after that one.
Luxembourg, King of Steel next. It's another edition for Ryan Warden.
Next two we're going to look at ran in the John Henry Turf Championship at Santa Anita, and Balladeer and Master of Foxhounds, who isn't also eligible. And we already looked at him and this race for the Turf Mile, if you refer back to that posting. Balladeer is one who's been around a while and has been doing pretty well the last couple. Got on a pretty soft lead in the John Henry and was able to pretty much walk home. Didn't get a lot of pressure, so it's kind of hard to evaluate. He'll likely be on the front end in the Turf. I don't have a lot of hopes that he can hang on, not against this field. And then you have Master of Foxhounds, who's also cross-entered it for the mile. I don't know if that's still the case, but he's listed here as an AE. Finished second in the John Henry Turf. Been around quite a long time. Likes to run up near the front end most of the time. And I would have to say that he is maybe a cut and a half below the top Europeans, but he's been on the California circuit for quite some time. So let's take a look at the John Henry turf. So here's the John Henry turf. Balladeer is number 4, and he'll be self-evident as he gets out to the lead. Broke very well. Master Foxhound's down on the rail, number 1. You see, he's a little keen to get up there too, but he's going to let Balladeer get the lead and save some ground on the rail. Kind of blew the turn there for Balladeer. I'm surprised nobody took advantage of it, but there he is, out on the lead.
Planetario in the orange colors. Here's the gray Cash Equity moving up now to claim the 4th spot. Another length and a half to an unhurried Gold Phoenix through the early stages, who's a length and a half in front of Speaking Scout, and that leaves awfully
for a mile and a quarter. That's a little on the quick side. So
Balladeer opens up early.
I don't expect at a mile and a half he'd be able to do that and expect to win.
Foxhounds couldn't ask for a better spot in second. And yes, this
47
time
and 2 again.
Third.
A little quick.
Cash Equity and Planetario right together. 2 more to Gold Phoenix, Speaking Scout, and Awfully Naughty. On to the backstretch, and it's Balladeer.
Trying to close in a little bit here, Master Foxhounds is.
Master of Foxhounds and Edward Maldonado moving in from second. Maldonado just took a peek back to see yes this time 2 behind him. Another 3 or so back to Cash
112. So
Equity,
Balladeer's been
outside
able to
of
slow it down a
Planetario.
little bit.
Then Speaking Scout
And consequently,
Gold Phoenix.
they're getting a little
Awfully
closer,
Naughty
but still,
trying to
he's
jump
in
outside
complete
of that
control.
pair. Balladeer's lead down to 2 lengths.
See, Master Foxhound's trying to make a move here.
Willingly second. 3 more yes this time is in third. They are followed by Planetario and Cash Equity open together. Now Gold
Balladeer
Phoenix
was
is
equal
called
to the
on, and
task.
Master of Foxhounds comes to Balladeer at the top of the stretch. Balladeer digging in. Master of Foxhounds
Plenty
still
of
a length
horse.
back second. 4 more to yes this time. Speaking Scout angles out in Planetario. A 16th to go. Balladeer tenaciously fending off Master of Foxhounds.
See, just couldn't get to him.
Balladeer all the way under Victor.
That was an
Espinosa
okay
to
field
win
for
the John Henry
California.
Turf Championship. Master
You know,
of Foxhounds was second,
yeah,
and
just
Speaking
that's
Scout
not going to happen
and
with
Planetario.
the European contingent signed on. So good race, but I don't think it's. I don't expect this one to be there at the end. Gold Phoenix is another one from the California contingent. He's trained by Phil D'Amato and part of Little Red Feather Racing, which is a very prominent barn ownership group out in California. This one is pretty versatile. He can go a mile. He can go a mile and a half. He's been a hard knocker for a while. The thing about Gold Phoenix, though, is he ran in the John Henry Turf, but you note he was no factor whatsoever. And that's the one thing about him, is that he can disappear at times. When he's on his game, he's very good. But he can also throw in a clunker unexpectedly. So we're going to look at, you saw the John Henry Turf. Now we're going to look at the Del Mar Handicap, which Gold Phoenix was able to win. So you'll see him at his best, and you can maybe get a better assessment of him.
Goes in.
So here's the Del Mar Handicap, and you'll see the Little Red Feather Silks. They're patterned after the Chicago Bears. He's out in number 10 hole. I believe the ownership group is from Chicago originally, so it's the origin of the blue and orange. Anyway, you see Gold Phoenix towards the back.
None above the law is the grey down at the rail. And behind that, Mr. Cut is dropping 7 off the lead.
It's
They go
generally
a
the way
decent
he
pace
runs
for
is
this
towards the rear.
distance. In behind those comes Cash Equity. They've been followed by Win the Day dropping towards the rear. Gold Phoenix is also back there. Then last of all is Awfully Naughty.
This
They come
is
through
the
the
race
stretch
prior
first
to the
time
John
round.
Henry.
Crosby
So
Beach down at the rail,
I have
second,
noticed
right
he's
down
kind of
now,
in a
Azul
good
Coast
race,
up
bad race
alongside
pattern
911
right
Turbo
now, which is
races
never
along
good.
in third.
Obviously, it would mean the
Planetario's
Breeders'
right
Cup is a
behind
good
that,
race.
and none above the law is the grey.
So he
Then
might
back
be
to
one
Mr.
that
Cut, a good
perhaps at a
10
price
lengths
you
off
think
these
about for
leaders.
underneath,
On
but
the
I
outside
believe
comes
that's going to
Cash
be the
Equity.
extent of it.
Win the Day is back 4th last.
see they're
and
pretty
behind
well
that,
strung
Gold
out here.
Phoenix got to be a
Pretty
good
slow
15 off those leaders now.
fractions.
Racing in behind that comes Cathkin Peak, and at the back is Awfully Naughty. They head now past the 3/4 pole, and Crosby Beach continues to lead it. Azul Coast keen to go on second. In third is 911 Turbo. Just in behind them comes None Above the Law. Then we come back to Mr. Cut, who's good 8 lengths off the leaders.
He's starting to make
then
a
we
move
drop
now.
back behind that to Cash Equity on the inside, Win the Day. They're taking closer order now. Gold Phoenix still towards the rear. Cathkin Peak on the inside of that.
He's
They
got a little
head
bit of
past the
traffic. Going to
half-mile
have to work it
pole, and
out.
Crosby Beach still the leader. Azul Coast been tracking him every yard of the way. 911 Turbos in third. None Above the Law is right there at the rail. Alongside of that comes Mr. Cut. Mr. Cut 4 lengths off them, and behind him Cash Equity and Gold Phoenix coming to
Now
the
he's
top
got
of
to
the
tip
lane.
out and
Wide,
kind of
wide
bossing his
open
way
now.
through there a little
Azul
bit.
Coast 911 Turbo now takes the
It's
lead
a hole,
and kicks for home.
looks he's got one if he's got the
911
horse,
Turbo
and
has the
he's got it.
advantage. Above the cut, coming
see
with a
good
late
acceleration,
run.
and
Now
when
here's
Gold Phoenix is on,
down the center. Also coming
got a
late, Cash
really
Equity
exceptional
and
kick,
Cathkin
but,
Peak on the outside.
it's the
Gold
question
Phoenix
is you're
doing
not sure
best.
which
Gold
horse you're gonna
Phoenix
get,
to
but
win.
you see
Gold
here,
Phoenix has won it.
he had his A
Very,
game
very
and
close
got up
for
in time.
second. Trying to hang on there was 9.
Bolshoi Ballet is an Aidan O'Brien import, and this one has already run in the States in the Sword Dancer, and got a pretty solid win. It was kind of expected going in. The field, there were some more prominent turf horses, but a lot of them were a little on the vulnerable side, so I don't know how definitive it is about Bolshoi Ballet's chances, but he's another one who'll likely want to be out on the front end. So let's take a look at the Sword Dancer. So here's the Sword Dancer, and this was back in August at Saratoga.
They're in the gate.
This was on Travers Day. I was there.
And they're off in the Resorts World Casino's Sword Dancer. And they play very evenly with Stone Age.
In another small
Sprinting
field,
along.
just a grade one
Channel
with
Maker. Channel Maker,
can't get
Stone
more than
Age
6
goes
horses.
to
It's really
assert
kind of
themselves
ridiculous in my
immediately
opinion,
and open
but
up free on
I've said
Bolshoi
enough about
Ballet.
that. So you
And
see Bolshoi
Dog-
Ballet in the all
It's
blue,
another
the navy
flank
silks.
back.
Number 3 is just going to rate on the hedge,
Is second to
just
last.
off the
And
top
to a
2.
run of Soldier Rising. They round the 4 turn at Saratoga for the first time. And it's Channel Maker through a quarter that went in 23 and 3/5 seconds. Stone Age won't let him get away. It's just a half length back as they
Excuse
come
me.
through the stretch for the first time. Bolshoi Ballet a very close third. And just behind that comes Daunt in fourth, 2 lengths off the pace. Pioneering Spirit galloping along comfortably at the back of the field with Soldier Rising. They have a lap to go, and it is Channel Maker leading by a neck.
Channel Maker, that's probably the last time we're going to see him. I believe they retired him after this
And Daunt right behind
this,
the top pair.
has been retired, let's say. I think he had another race after this one.
Then comes Pioneering Spirit.
They got their money's worth from him, that's for sure.
Behind him to Soldier Rising. Manny Franco and
You see,
Channel
he's a little
Maker.
covered up here, Bolshoi
Stone
Ballet
Age
is.
on
He's
the
going to have to
outside,
find a way through.
almost on even terms while under a strong
But,
hold second. Then Bolshoi Ballet
traveling
Daunt
smoothly.
with no
Plenty of
change in
horse.
running order. 2 more lengths. Pioneering Spirit gets a little bit closer through 6 furlongs in 1:15 and 4. And Soldier Rising has trailed throughout. Stone Age goes on with it. And he does so strongly. Leading by a
Stone
length and a
Age
half,
did very
suddenly
well
over
in the
Channel
Breeders' Cup
Maker.
last year,
On
but
the
this
outside,
year has
Bolshoi
been
Ballet
been a bit of a mystery, and as I recall, I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something about him going into this race that told me he likely wouldn't have a good chance to win. So the moral of the story is that this wasn't exactly the toughest field for Bolshoi Ballet to face. Pioneer Spirit, kind of a glorified claimer, really, had been doing well, but I don't know if he's grade 1 material. You see Bolshoi Ballet asserting himself, and it's pretty much over at this point. Soldier Rising with his usual late close, where he's going to be too late, always the case.
Ballet, romping home in the Resorts World Casino.
Solid,
Sword
but not
Dancer.
spectacular.
Soldier Rising was second. Pioneering Spirit finished third. And Daunt was fourth.
Broome is one we don't want to overlook. He's lesser known than some of the more prominent Europeans, but there's a couple of things to remember about him. First of all, when the Breeders' Cup was at Del Mar a couple of years ago, he finished second in the Breeders' Cup turf. Secondly, he beat Mostadov, who was a highly regarded European in this race, in the Hardwick Stakes earlier in the year. So this one can still bring it. Most recently, he hasn't been in the top of form, but he's been running at longer distances, and most notably the British Champions Long Distance Cup. But he is not to be underestimated. And a lot of times in the Breeders' Cup Turf, it's the ones that you overlook that surprise, meaning from the European shippers. So let's take a look at Broom's most recent race. So here's the Long Distance Cup. You can see it's not that big a field.
And they're off for the Kipco British Champions Long Distance
You've got
Cup.
Broom down there on the rail with the grey and white,
purple jacket.
light blue
Kiprios is
and white,
handy.
white
Under
cap.
Rybor on the outside, the all blue of Trawlerman on the running rail, followed by Coltrane, then Broom, True Chambret with a bit more restraint today.
And Coltrane is like
Last time
the
in
long
France,
distance
and
king
then
in
on the
Europe.
inside, Sweet William and
He's big
Strata
time at these
is
long
the
races.
early back marker as they race in front of the stands with a circuit to go. Looks a pretty decent gallop being set by Maxident, tracked in second by Trawlerman in the hands of Frankie Dettori. In third, Kiprios and Ryan Moore, Coltrane and O'Shea Murphy on the outside of Broom and Dylan Brown at McMonagle. Turning right-handed now. Sweet William, Brad Hamlin further back on the inside of True Shan and Holly Doyle. And lastly is Strata and champion jockey William Buick. There'll be a good 15 lengths first to last, and Maxident is building up a lead now as they pass the mile-and-a-half point from the finish. Maxident by a good 7 or 8 lengths to Trawlerman in second place. This could be a real test. Back in third place, 6 lengths
Broom
away is
just
Kiprios,
keeping along in the
followed
back.
by Coltrane. Then Broom and True Shan well back at this stage, Sweet William likewise, and finally Strata heading past the mile-and-a-quarter point from the finish, and Maxident still remains clear. Trawlerman the only one within challenging range at the moment. Kiprios is third. Little shake of the reins there.
See how much turf gets kicked up in this one, huh?
There by Coltrane on the inside. Broom, True Shan still restrained. Sweet William. And finally, right out the back is Stratum, and now they're into Swingley Bottom. Swinging right-handed and on towards the final 7 furlongs. Maxident, Trawlerman, about 4 or 5 lengths down in second. The others are well back. Kiprios.
Don't you see that in these long-distance races? It always seems to be one on the front end.
Inside the 7. After Kiprios is Coltrane, followed by Broom.
There's such a tactical
then
disadvantage
True
at this
Shan,
point.
Sweet William,
that,
and Stratum. So racing uphill. Looks
see
like
what they do
Trawlerman could
about
be
it.
left in front here as Maxident begins to just weaken a little bit in front.
It's going uphill
on their way
there, too.
towards the final 6 furlongs. Trawlerman right on the shoulder now of Maxident, and they're a good 12 lengths clear, passing the 5, and Frankie
just kind of
strikes the
lingering
front
at the
on
back,
Trawlerman.
not really
It's
keeping
Trawlerman
up.
that goes on. Maxident beginning to feel it now. What have the others got to left in the locker, and how can Trawlerman keep up the gallop? It's been a fierce clip all the way. Trawlerman leading, nursed along into the lead. They're closing. Kiprios now closing very quickly indeed. Going to challenge the leader, and Kiprios going up on the outside of Trawlerman. And here comes
Broom just didn't
into
have anything in the
third
tank
place
for
under
it.
Holly Doyle. They turn for home, and it's Kiprios that now pokes his nose in front from Trawlerman. True Shan's got 3 or 4 lengths to make up, and making heavy weather of it. It's Kiprios that goes on from Trawlerman, then True Shan, Sweet William, and Coltrane running up the hill towards the final third and a half. Kiprios, Trawlerman is trying to fight back. Maybe Kiprios is getting a bit tired.
Not Broom's best effort, that's for sure, but look at this.
This
might get him. Wow. Wow. Pretty cool. Get Smoking is likely going to be the pace in the Breeders' Cup Turf, I would think. That's the way he runs. The only question about Get Smoking I would have is, can he settle down and run at reasonable fractions where he's going to have something in the tank left? Because quite often he just wings it from the front end, and he's a good horse. I mean, he holds on quite a bit, but in this group, I think if he tries that, he's going to have a lot of difficulty. Last race was the Kentucky Turf Cup, and he was able to stay on the front end and keep it going. So let's get a look at that. So there's the Kentucky Turf Cup.
They're all in line, and we're ready for the start. They're off in the
Get Smoking number
Kentucky
5 right
Turf
to the
Cup.
lead, as expected.
And a great beginning for Get Smokin', who's sent to the early lead by Fernando de la Cruz, with Santino Way running in second position, and Foreign Relations tucks in on the inside. Spooky Channel going up outside of horses. Kiddo Dan is next. Then Verstappen to the inside, followed by another mystery.
Verstappen, you know, really thought that after his victory in the Elkhorn, that he was going to continue to move forward, and he really hasn't. Bit of a surprise.
For that first turn. Get Smokin' at a 24 flat opening quarter mile and has opened up 4 lengths on Santine around that first turn. Spooky Channel head-and-head with Foreign Relations, 3rd and 4th. They're 7 lengths behind, Verstappen in behind them. And then it's back to Kiddo-Dan, outside of the 9-year-old veteran Red Knight, who's on the rail. A length and a half clear of B and Mr. C, another mystery. Therapist on the outside of Nautilus. Never explained the trailer through a 49.61 half mile.
See, this is a case where Get Smokin', I think maybe this is important to note that this was a race he was able to slow it down because his prior efforts he really wasn't. You know, he go like 23, 47, but I think that's significant, and it might allow him at least to linger late. I doubt he can win the turf, but he could stay in the exotics if he can get off to a really soft pace.
So far, Get Smokin' leads by 2 over Santine.
You see, he's got plenty of horse, and they're not even coming close to getting him.
4th on the inside, then Spooky Channel, Therapist, and Red Knight. They're 6 lengths behind around that far turn. Kiddo-Dan is next. Then comes B and Mr. C, followed at the back of the pack by another mystery in Nautilus. The mile 137.99 can Get Smokin' keep on going. They're into the stretch in the Kentucky Turf Cup, and Get Smokin' comes off the turn in front. Still the leader by 2. Santine is second. Down the outside, Verstappen is third.
He can play Catch Me If You Can at this point because he's been allowed to get off on such soft fractions. Plenty of horse left.
Then comes Santine and Verstappen to the outside. Spooky Channel is next. Down to the 16th pole. He's still there. It still Gets Smokin'. Santine, Verstappen. On the inside, Spooky Channel. Get Smokin' every step of the way. Wins the Kentucky Turf Cup. Fernando de la Cruz waves his whip in victory. And it's a photo behind him. The final time was 2:28.66.
Walking the dog. King of Steel is a horse that will win the competition in the paddock for sure. He is a magnificent specimen, and he's huge too. He reminds me of Rock Hard 10. Some of you might remember him from about 20 years ago. Was just an 18 hands. He finished 3rd in the Preakness, and he won the Santa Anita Handicap at 4. But just a beautiful horse. He finished 2nd in the British Derby, English Derby, at 61-1. And there was no fluke. He came back and ran pretty well at Royal Ascot. And you can see he just took down the Champion Stakes. And we saw him of note in the Irish Champion Stakes when we were looking at Auguste Rodin. So this one's no joke. He is dual entered in the Classic. However, I'm not sure that he has the dirt pedigree for that race. Really would love to see him in the turf, and I think likely we will. So let's take a look at the Champion Stakes. So here's the Champion Stakes, and King of Steel, you see there,
King of Steel.
the monster all the way on the inside at the 1 position.
It's the Kitco Champion Stakes. They're off. Via Sestina gave a little jump, leaving the stalls, was going to be dropped in for a wide draw. Baybridge going forward with Royal Rhyme. And then Point Lonsdale, who's cajoled along on the inside, of My Prospero coming through strongly in the blinkers for the first time. So quite a bit of competition for the early lead. Point Lonsdale round the inside of My Prospero, Royal Rhyme, and then 2 or 3 legs to Baybridge. And they're followed by Horizontal, who's rather keen. The French challenger on the outside of Dubai Honor via
One of the green sash and the yellow. You almost want to take a piece out of that horse next to one. Pretty keen.
Just to the outside.
King of Steel just going to save all the ground on the rail.
Under Tom Marquand, Point Lonsdale 2nd. Royal Rhyme is 3rd. Then Baybridge close up in 4th on the outside of Dubai Honor. Horizontal has settled a bit better now behind these, followed by King of Steel. and they head up the hill towards the final 5 furlongs. Via Sistina still towards the back with King of Steel, and maybe the pace just slowing down a little bit, sensibly so perhaps, by Prospero by a half length to Royal Ride, Point Lonsdale, Bay Bridge in a good position to try and double up from last year. Then Dubai Honor, Horizon d'Or, Via Sistina's on the outside in the pink sleeves, King of Steel and Frankie Dettori at the back of the field as they race on now towards the final 3 furlongs in the home turn. And it's by Prospero by a length to Royal Ride. Bay Bridge
They
going
look
up
like they're
into
starting to
third.
get away at
On
this
the
point.
outside of Point Lonsdale. Then
But,
Horizon d'Or,
King
Via
of Steel's got
Sistina
a
is circling the field from Dubai Honor.
pretty
And
darn
King of
big
Steel now
stride.
being pushed along down the run towards the finish. And Royal Ride looming up on the outside of my Prospero. Here comes
Anybody knows
Horizon
how to
d'Or with Via Sistina.
ration
Bay
out
Bridge
speed, it's
standing
Frankie
out, Point
Dettori, and that's
Lonsdale. King of
exactly what he
Steel is
did
getting
with
off
this
to the
one.
back. Still got a bit to find though. And it's Via Sistina, the mare who comes through to lead from Horizon d'Or. King of Steel
Never
is
thought
trying
he'd
to
get
reach
there,
them
but he did.
inside the final furlong. Via Sistina. Here comes King of Steel on the Frankie Dettori on the near side. Via Sistina by a half length. He's a neck. He's a hip. And King of Steel.
Just
he
didn't
gets
get
the
it.
win. He wins the champion.
You see, he's a grinder.
Frankie Dettori.
It's not going to explode on
He's
him,
the
but he'll
leader
just
of
keep
the
coming.
round, and his farewell ride and his favourite race course is King of Steel. In the hands of Frankie Dettori. From his second Via Sistina, she was walled down close to the finish. And they were away from Horizon d'Or in third, and in fourth, Point Lonsdale.
Next, we have Mostadaf from Shadwell's stable. That's an offshoot of Godolphin, as we know. And John Gosden is the trainer. He does not bring them over unless he thinks he can win. And that's the first sign indicator that Mostadaf is one we have to take seriously. I saw this one run at Ascot and did pretty well. It seems to have been progressing as the year has gone on, culminating with the Juddmonte International first there. So let's take a look at that one. So here's the Juddmonte International.
Lead oil. Frankie will complete the line. Mostadaf moving in. Stand
There
by.
he is, number 1.
They're all in. They're off.
You see the Europeans suffer from a small field problem in graded stakes as well.
Foxes drops out in last place, and Mostadaf bounces out with an advantage of a couple of lengths, leading Paddington through the first furlong of the £1 million.
That's Paddington.
International.
If he does come over for the turf mile, he will be formidable for sure. But word is he doesn't necessarily ship terribly well, so we'll have to see. But he's been more of a miler throughout the year, 3 years old.
At around about 36, 37 miles an hour, they move down towards the final 7 furlongs. So Frankie glancing in behind aboard Mostadaf. He's got a lead now of 3 lengths or so. Paddington is chasing 2 lengths away to Nashua, the dark green silks, and the Foxes under heavy restraint at the back of the field. They enter the last 3/4 of a mile and begin the swing back towards home and on towards halfway. And Frankie setting decent fractions here on Mostadaf. He has an advantage.
They're traveling
of 3
pretty
lengths
easily.
over Paddington. A further 2 lengths away to Nashua, and the Foxes are halfway, remains last of the quartet, and they're around about 38 miles an hour as Mostadaf leads them to the top of the home straight and the last half mile in sight. And again, Frankie has a look in behind. You'll see that Ryan Moore is now just
So when you
asking
see him look
Paddington
there,
to
you
go
know
on
he's got
course
plenty of
to
horse.
try and close. The gap is
And
still
it proves it
3
out
lengths,
here.
2 lengths away to Nashua, and the
That
Foxes
Paddington is a
remains
good
last of 4.
horse, too.
Again, Frankie
He's
has
just
a
not
long,
gonna let him get
wandering
there.
look in behind aboard Mostadaf. He's leading him down towards the last 2.5 furlongs, and Moore is
Drifting
now
out a bit.
crouching low on Paddington. He gets to within 2 lengths. Frankie asks Mostadaf for more. Can Paddington get past? Nashua on the right is staging a challenge. The Foxes back in 4th. Mostadaf on down towards the last furlong. Paddington, though, pressing hard under the Moore drive. Nashua trying to burrow through against the rail. Mostadaf,
Showing some
Paddington
grit here, you
leading
gotta
left.
like
He
that.
gets to his quarters. Can he get past? Frankie in front, punching away. Mostadaf.
Is there anything Frankie
and it's
Dettori
a
didn't
record
win
breaking
this year?
international
Overseas?
success
My
for
God.
Frankie on his-
Now we're going to look at our French invader, Onesto. And I have it on good authority. Michael Arndt, one of our subscribers, thank you for dropping the line, tells me that the Arc de Triomphe, which we're about to look at, the ground was pretty, it was a bog. It was pretty bad. So we want to keep that in mind when we take a look at the Arc de Triomphe. But you see Ernesto, it's got over $1 million in earnings. So I think this is maybe a horse we want to pay attention to. But keep in mind about the ground when we take a look at the Arc de Triomphe right now. So here's the Arc de Triomphe, and this is one of the biggest races in Europe of the year. Takes place at Longchamp, and again, while the sun is out and it looks okay, apparently the ground was pretty soft. So as we know, at Santa Anita, it isn't. It's a lot firmer. So that may make a difference for Ernesto's chances. And he's in the white and blue checkerboard.
And Sisfahanu are the last couple of runners. They begin to settle down. Then Richard Kingscote on Bay
I think that's him covered up there in what looks like the white, but try to get a better feel. We'll know as they get closer. Ace Impact won this, and boy, it's a shame that we're not going to see him because pretty stellar effort here.
Hookah making progress towards the outside, blue and white stripes on the cap. Plastic Carousel and the silver jacket is next. Free Wind, she's trapped away against the rails in white colours. Hayazark in yellow is next, and then the Royal Blue, a Fantastic Moon. Continuous, the pink colours is next. Ace Impact, be about 2 from the right of the picture. Black sleeves, orange jacket, through 7 Seas. She's alongside him. Ernesto in white and Sisfahan in pink.
Okay, so Ernesto's down towards the rear.
Mr. Hollywood has taken the lead in the art. They've just got past the halfway stage. Hookham and Baybridge together, second and third. Length and a half behind these to Westover against the rail on the inside of Sim Camille. Plastic Carousel wide. I'll Feed the Flame and Free Wind behind those. Fantastic Moon is next, being followed by Hayazot, but she just precedes him. Then comes Ace Impact and Continuous, and through 7 Seas. They're well on their way to the home turn now. Lots of them going well. Ernesto is next, and then comes Sisfahan, but it's still Mr. Hollywood who's on the way to the home turn.
Apparently, yeah, he's in the white. I'm sorry I can't be more specific as to where he is. He did finish third, so it'll become apparent fairly shortly. See Ace Impact all the way out to the right. Westover's a hell of a horse, so if you beat him, you're doing something. So Ernesto's in that number 3 there. So he basically was at the rear, and despite it, his time shadowed Ace Impact and closed well. But again, we'll make a note about the ground. A little different story when it's firmer. Next we'll look at is Raptors, and he's owned by Gary Barber, trained by Mark Cassidy, and he must have been a recent purchase because I don't believe he's running the States as of yet. You'll see that he's 7 out of 8 in the money, but only $119,000 in earnings, which is just pretty amazing. No surprise why they shipped him up here. His last effort he ran in the Brazil Stakes, so we'll take a look at that now. So this is the Brazil Stakes, and this is the only replay I could find. We have my Brazilian colleague up at the top who will be giving analysis. For those of you who speak Portuguese, you'll be able to follow along. Otherwise, you can see it's a big field. I believe Raptors is in the black and white with white polka dots. Let's see what we have here.
Uma égua, 17 machos, 3 animais do mesmo proprietário. Já tem detalhe na largada que eu quero mostrar para vocês que funciona um jogo de equipe, assim, que é até meio... Acho... Também não funcionou, né? Papo reto, não funcionou esse jogo de equipe. Mas, e um cavalo de São Paulo, que era um dos favoritos, assim, foi retirado do páreo absurdamente. Ó, largou. Lá largou, ó. Ó, repara esse cavalo de Antônios Branco aqui, tá? Antônios Branco, ó. Tá vendo lá, ó, aqui, ó, pô, esse frame é bizarro. Tá, para. Ó, parei aqui, ó. O cavalo de Antônios Branco é o Lionel de Bash, que é do mesmo dono da Highwire e do Olympic Kremlin. E o Não Dá Mais, largava pela 17, ele corre na ponta, né? O cavalo Lionel de Bash, que é esse de Antônios, o jockey toca ele muito na largada.
This is a little frustrating. You just want to watch the whole race, but
o cara fez muita questão de sair na velocidade, porque Não para assumir a
We do
ponta,
wanna
não queria
see
assumir a ponta.
what
Você
this
vê que o
one's
Jorel
gonna
ali,
be,
ele tá limpo por dentro, ele poderia tapar
Brazilian
o Jorel
fields, you know,
Ele vem
obviously
por fora,
quality is
tá
the
vendo?
issue,
Por fora.
class.
O cara vem caçar tanto ele quanto o cavalo do Escorial,
To
ali do
see
Escorial. Eles vêm
big
para
field, and
caçar
I
o não dá mais,
believe,
não deixar o não dá mais
Raptors
fazer a
is
curva.
covered
Bizarro,
up.
ó. Aí.
I believe he's in the.
Olha lá, ó. Tá vendo? Ele vem pra fora, ele não quer deixar o não dá mais ter espaço pra entrar por dentro.
See, I believe
E
that's
agora
him
o
in the
Escorial
back, and he
faz um
looks a
negócio que é
little
absurdo, ó. Olha, ele vai
that's
abrindo o
a
cavalo,
little
ó. Ele vai jogando o cavalo, ele quer jogar o cavalo na pista do
Towards the rear,
Flamengo,
number
lá,
three,
no campo
I
do
believe.
Flamengo, ó, para. Ó. Estão vendo ali, ó? O cavalo do Estúdio Escorial, vermelho e preto a falha, ele vai abrindo pra jogar o não dá mais lá no campo do Flamengo, lá ali no. Lagoa Rodrigo de Freitas queria jogar. E aí o não dá mais, o J. Severo levanta, o cavalo deixa esse cavalo Escorial passar por lá pra fora, jogou a carreira do cavalo fora, na curva, já Escorial não
see the mouse.
Existe,
I think that's him.
mas só
It's
pra
either
atrapalhar o
him
outro eles
or
fazem
him
isso.
here.
Então, aí não
One
dá
of the
mais.
two.
retorna e
I'm
volta.
sorry, I can't be more specific about it.
Deixa, o cara vai lá pra fora, tá vendo? O vermelho lá pra fora, aí ele tem que recolher, não dá mais, perde um pouco de terreno, mas aí coloca ele por dentro ali pra vir ao lado do Osprey. O Osprey, eu, na primeira impressão, tinha achado que o jockey do Osprey tinha arrebentado com o Paio.
You see right in the middle there. I think that's it. I
Ali
think
vocês veem o
that's
Raptors
him.
correndo na oitava colocação, lá
Looks
da
like the
Highway.
black
né?
with the white
Corre na
polka
ponta
dots
de
and the white
Best,
cap
o-
right in the middle there.
o
Just
Jorel
went
ali
past that,
justamente,
those
dois
lights.
cavalos do Escorial com primeira e segunda e terceira colocações. Aí mais atrás vem lá na
So
sétima,
he's covered
oitava
up,
colocação, vem o vencedor do
saving
Paio
ground.
correto. Vão ser fundo lance, vê que os cavalos começam a se pegar lá atrás. Ó. É um pegando o outro, ali é terra de ninguém, né? Mas sempre por dentro, o Raptors, ó. O Raptors sempre por dentro. E esse cavalo de farda verde, presta atenção nele online, porque ele vai fazendo um strike, que assim, é a coisa mais bizarra que eu vi.
He's ridden
tá?
along a little bit
Aqui,
to
só olhando.
maintain
Ó,
position.
tá entrando reta. Agora eu vou entrar aqui, vocês vão ver, ó. Deixa eu dar um pai. Ó. Tá vendo aqui dentro, ó? O Raptors atrás da pilastra, não
You
dá
can
pra
see
ver,
my
mas lá
mouse.
por
I think
fora,
that's
tá?
him
O
right
Osprey,
there where I'm
né, com a farda
pointing.
nova ali,
Right
na
by
mesa
the
do
PI, the
Rafa,
second
que é boné amarelo,
poke
jaqueta azul,
sign,
na quarta colocação.
just by the
Faixa
P
amarela.
and the
Lá pelo lado
white
de
cap,
fora, o
black
Ricardinho já
polka
vem
dot,
dando a
black,
partida
body with
com
the white polka
o
dots.
com o Jet Class, que é um dos favoritos do páreo, e o não dá mais tá do lado do Osprey, né? E eles vêm vindo. E por dentro vem online, né? Correndo o menor percurso, tem a Highwire ali, tem o Raptors por dentro, o Raptors fica até um pouquinho mais para pegar a baliza de dentro, o Moreira, né? Poupando ali, tentando fugir dos caixotes e olha só, segue. Ó. Aí vem o online. Aí vem os três fazendo a curva ali e iam ficar muito bem no par. Ó, o Osprey, o não dá mais, lá por fora o Jet Class. E o online vem forçando, até que o Anderson Fernandes faz uma coisa bizarra. Ó, fica olhando, ele
Saving
ia ficar
all
sem
the
passagem,
ground
ele ia ficar
there.
por dentro. O que ele faz?
The rail opens up for him a little bit. This
Ó, esse
point,
aqui é o campo.
you see
Vendo
that
aqui, ó,
hole there.
o Jorel tem que ver que o Lionel de Best está cansando, já
exploit.
sai da baliza 1 para 2. Juntamente com o cavalo do Escorial, né? Para abrir um pouquinho para sair. E aí, o cavalo, o Osprey, o não dá mais, e o Jet Class estão aqui por fora, eles vão ficar um pouquinho mais apertadinhos, mas tem lugar para eles. Não tem lugar para o de farda verde, o online, o Anderson Fernandes. Aí você vê o Raptors aqui por dentro, né, bem tranquilo, do lado do Kong Fu e do Maximum Drive. E o Moreira agora eu vou dar o play. Ó. Aí ele vem, ó, cara, isso aí é bizarro. Isso, olha aqui,
See,
olha
the
o que ele
rail's
fez.
wide
Ó,
open
cara,
for him.
né,
Now
olha o
it's
que ele
just a
fez.
question if he's got enough force.
Bizarro, cara. Ele joga, ele não quer nem saber o Anderson Fernandes. Ele taca pra cima os cavalos, é um strike, irmão. É um strike, ó. É um strike, ele joga 3 cavalos, um não dá mais, sai da carreira,
See,
joga
there he
um cara,
goes.
sai da
He's
carreira,
got
o
some
Osprey
really
também.
nice acceleration right there.
Para. Ó. E ainda o Moreira foge, eles estão vendo que o Moreira, o Jorel ainda corre
So
pra
good
dentro.
ground
pra cima do
saving
Moreira, o
trip,
Moreira tem
and
que tirar pra
I
fora
like
pra
the
vir.
I like the turn of foot. It looks like when he was ready to be engaged.
Né?
That
Aí você já vê aqui que já ficou no
he had nice acceleration, so we didn't want to keep that in mind. Some of these horses in the turf are grinders, and sometimes these horses who can kick it into high gear quickly will have a bit of an advantage.
Agora eu te pergunto o seguinte, tá? Vale a pena, por uma carreira, você colocar a vida dos teus colegas em risco? Porque os cavalos estão ali a 55 por hora. Se o cara cai a 55 por hora no meio de um pelotão que ele estava,
I have no idea what this guy's saying, but we'll give him kudos for being thorough, I guess.
Vale a pena fazer isso para ganhar um páreo? Quanto de suspensão tem que tomar o Anderson Fernandes? Eu gosto do Anderson Fernandes, hein? Já participou da live várias vezes. Mas me diz você, Quanto que você acha que uma imprudência dessa vai de suspensão? Colocar a vida do Jorge Ricardo, José Severo em risco. Quanto vale? Aí minha questão. Vai. Play. E aí vem ali, ó. E aí consegue uma passagem mágica. E aí você vê o Moreira, ó. Para.
Race ride, no big deal.
Esse momento aqui é emblemático. O Moreira ontem, o que aconteceu com o Moreira ontem, tá, Oriente do Iguaçu, assim, foi uma das paradas mais injustas da história do Tour. Foi algo bizarro, absurdo, e não tem nem qualificação. Se eu for colocar o que eu realmente penso a respeito, eu vou ser, processado, com certeza. Enfim, aí o Moreira viu que ele não é fair play, não existe fair play na gata. Aí o Moreira espalhou mesmo pra cima do line. Espalhou mesmo. Falou, não, meu irmão, hoje não vem segurar minha farda de novo, não. Você vai me puxar pela farda igual o Rodney Gil fez. Não. Tá? Só pra deixar. Deu uma espalhada boa. E aí vem o Moreira, solta o braço mesmo ali de esquerda. Né? Abriu bem o braço. Coloca do nariz esquerdo.
He's got a pretty stiff challenge, but he's equal to the
muito
task.
no final, belo trabalho do Marcos Aurélio. E aí vem.
Drawn off well.
Pega o segundo lugar, né? Lógico, longe de recordes. Não teve chance de ir ao páreo, mas correu muito no final. Aí esse cavalo. Aqueles cavalos que surgiram no primeiro Brasil com colocação. Né?
Get up? Nope, he made it in time.
Aí, ó, detalhe esse aqui, ó.
It's not a bad effort. Maybe one we want
Tá
to
vendo
look
lá em
at.
cima, ó?
Next, we'll look at our Japanese import, Shahryar, and this one is not to be underestimated. You can see over 8 million in earnings. Now, his last start, the Sapporo Kinnan, he didn't have a very good effort, but I believe he had a throat issue that they've cleared up. So I think I expect him to run better. And we always have to remember the Japanese when they do, particularly when they come to the Breeders' Cup in California, that they're pretty formidable. So we're going to look at the Dubai Shima Classic, which was the second to last race he ran in. Maybe get a better idea of what kind of quality we have. So this is the Dubai Shima Classic. And you'll see out of post number 7, that's Shahryar in those Sunday racing cells with the red body and the black and yellow striped sleeves.
Then Botanic in third, Mostadaf is
Carried
fourth on the
wide in the
outside.
first turn.
Westover will ride the rail into that
About
first turn.
mid-pack.
Race about 5 lengths
One of the privileges of watching this race, of course, is getting to see Equinox. If he was coming to this race, it would be all over before it starts. He's awesome.
Then
You'll see that
Rebels
here.
Romance on the outside. Russian Emperor is next by 2.5, and the trailer up the backstretch is Senor Toba. So on to the backstretch they go, and Equinox wasting no time here, immediately to the front, and opening up to lead by 2 lengths onto the backstretch. On the outside is Mostadaf running along in second position. Botanic is third on the inside, Zagray is fourth
So
with
we get to
Maryland.
see
Fifth
Mostadaf
right
as
now,
well.
5.5 lengths off the lead, and going along comfortably with Westover to the outside.
He's in the
Shahryar is
Shadwell
hard held at
Silks
this
there
stage,
with
8
the
lengths
blue
off
and
the lead. And Rebels
white
Romance,
striped
a Breeders'
cap.
Cup winner, followed by Senor Toba, who's gaining a bit of ground inside of fellow
See Shahryar just drafting
at the rear of the field.
towards
And
the rear.
it is Japan's runner up front, Equinox. On top, up the backstretch, almost a 2-length lead on Mostadaf in second. On the inside is Botanic in third. Zagray is still 4 lengths behind, with Maryland behind them, and then Westover. Shahryar is down on the
Westover
inside
again.
of Rebels
It's a
Romance
pretty
as they
good
race
field.
for that far turn. So it is Equinox, the one to catch. He is on top by 1.5 lengths as they make their way around the turn, just cruising along here on the front end. Mostadaf on the outside second. Down toward the rail in third position is Botanic. Zagray is fourth on the outside. Break of another 2, and Rebels Romance is starting to get moving
Drift a
now.
little bit towards
He's
the
got
back.
4 lengths to make up. And a
Kind of
very
at a
tough
tactical
customer to catch in
disadvantage here
Equinox,
with,
who has the lead at the
Equinox
top of
on
the
a
stretch.
soft lead.
Equinox yet to be set down. He turns for home in control. Mostadaf on the outside second. Zagray is third. Rebels Romance trying to make his move down the center.
Rebels Romance is,
Westover 2
like I
and
said,
Shahryar
this is
on
a
the
really good
outside.
field, and
But
look at he's
Equinox
just
is
dusting.
still going strong.
Shahryar
He's
keeping on
lengthening
well,
his
Mostadaf
lead
as well, and
down
they
to
just
the
can't get to
16th
him.
hole. Here is the titan of the world's turf. He is Equinox. He scores for Japan
Awesome.
by 4 lengths on the wire.
Shahryar kept on pretty well. Decent effort. Next couple we're going to go over pretty quickly because we've covered them already in other postings. Up to the Mark, Rapoli Stables, Todd Pletcher. This one just dazzled after after a long layoff in the Coolmore Turf Mile. I think he announced that he is coming to this race in top form, and certainly the American's best hope to win this race. I think he matches up pretty well with the Europeans who come in here, and I would not overlook him. Warlike Goddess, we've seen before in the last in the Joe Hirsch. Really wasn't much of a field, but she drew off pretty well to indicate that she's coming to this race in good form. She loves 1.5 miles. That's her distance. So that you might, we can maybe upgrade her a little bit. The thing about Warlike Goddess is the start before that, it looked like she was sort of disinterested in running. And I just wonder, sometimes it happens, particularly with fillies, they get to a certain point and they just kind of feel like they don't want to run anymore. And so I just don't, I don't know about it. She did get third in the Breeders' Cup last year. I think this is a much better field, to be honest, with the European shippers. So to me, Warlike Goddess, while is a very fine horse, no doubt, and you can't underestimate Bill Mott on Breeders' Cup days. I think that it's going to be a tall order for her to win this race, but I don't think it's out of the question that she could be in the exotics. Next, we'll look at Adamo, who's also eligible in this race, and trained by Chad Brown. Got to take seriously on the turf, and Madaket Stables, who was a pretty prominent outfit in the States. Most recently ran in the Canadian International, so let's take a look at that. So here's the Canadian International.
On their way in the Canadian International, and a very nice beginning for Palazzi, an English conqueror showing up, and over on the inside, British Royalty and the Greys. Starting overs move forward, and coming forward from the extreme outside too is Royal Champion, and is keen to go right across and take away the lead from Starting Over, and darts clear at a good pace. Royal Champion sweeps into the backstretch in the Canadian International by 3 lengths, going to second, Nation's Pride. Starting Over is third, behind them English Conqueror the centre. Over on the inside is British Royalty, and Adamo's caught a bit wide going forward. Back to second.
So you got Adamo mid-pack there.
Well out in front. It is
Slopes are a little different than
thought
they'd be, so he's moving up there just off of Nation's Pride. Try to stay in position.
About 9 lengths covers the field, and well out in front, Royal Champion. Royal Champion, in fact, 4 lengths clear. Nation's Pride getting a little closer, a couple away in third, Adamo. Over on the inside, Starting Over. 1.5 to British Royalty coming away from the hedge. Back on the inside, Palazzi from Diner Drive, and dropping to last now is English Conqueror. Racing along through a half in 50 flat. They swing down the side, chasing Royal Champion.
We've seen a few of these in the States, Nation's Pride most notably, and I'd say they're, maybe a half a cut below grade ones in the States. So in this field, with the top Europeans, I don't know, probably wouldn't have much of a chance. A little surprised Nation's Pride's not going, though.
Royal Champion's kicked on, and James Doyle has some more left here on Royal Champion.
You see Adamo tipping out and keeping on pretty well. But can't get to the top 2, so it's not a...
Nation's Pride coming on.
Obviously, he's going to need a lot better effort if he does draw it in.
Nation's Pride's taken over and will come away and win the Canadian International. A very impressive display. And it's William Buick at
Distant third, not going to be good enough in this race. Finally, we're going to look at Cellist, and he's owned by Calumet Farm, trained by Rusty Arnold, and just most recently had a second place in the Sycamore Stakes, which I believe is a grade 3. You see he's had quite a few starts, only 3 wins to show for it. So you'd have to say right off the bat, the possibilities of him being competitive are kind of remote. But let's take a look at the Sycamore and see how he did. So here's the Sycamore Stakes.
They're off in the Sycamore. There goes Channel Maker along with Cellist. Red Run on their outside.
See up on the front end there.
In the opening strides as
The
well.
venerable
Cellist
Channel
moves
Maker.
forward, a lane off the rail onto the far turn, has the lead. Channel
We're not
Maker
gonna see again.
toward the
It's just
outside
retired.
second. Tawny Port against the rail in third.
Pretty nice,
Red Run, a lane off
pretty
the
nice
rail.
campaign. I was
Move
never a
around
big
the
fan
far
of the
turn
horse,
in
but you have
fourth.
to
Highest honors
admire
back to the inside fifth. Limited
ability to
liability
still compete
swings
at
up
9
three
years
wide
old at
into
the highest
sixth. Around the
levels.
outside of Bold Act between horses in seventh. Therapist eighth back toward the inside. Kiddo Dan flanks that one in ninth. Red Knight unhurried near the back of the pack early on in 10th. Another mystery is in 11th. And Shoddy last of the 12. Cellist guides the field through the stretch for the first time. 24.93 seconds for the
He's
opening
going to take
quarter.
him on a
Channel
merry
Maker
chase.
is second toward the outside. Tawny Port back toward the inside, third a length. Then Red Run, highest honors, limited liability, Bold Act, Therapist, Kiddo Dan. And then Red Knight, still near the back of the pack, 9 lengths off the lead. A circuit to go here in the Sycamore. Another mystery next to last, and Shoddy at the back. 50.39 seconds was the time for the first half mile.
Got every chance now. I mean, setting soft for action. They're going to let him do that. If he's good enough.
In the second position, Tawny Port back to the inside in third, and then Red Run stalking the pace from the fourth spot, fourth by 3/4 of a length. Highest honors, fifth back toward the inside. Limited liability is traveling toward the outside in sixth, running 6 lengths off the lead. And then comes Therapist. Bold Act is back toward the inside, 8 lengths from the front, midpoint of the back stretch. And then Kiddo Dan. Red Knight has running to do as they go to the far turn. Nearly a dozen lengths from the front. Another mystery. Shoddy at the back. 6 furlongs. 1 minute 15.16. Cellist and Channel Maker 1-2 separated by a half length onto the final turn here. As Tawny Port is third by a half length. Red Run is fourth. Highest honors is fifth. Limited liability and Bold Act. Bold Act is still 8 from the front. Likewise for Therapist as they turn for home. And Cellist is
It's
still
his
the
race
leader.
to lose at
Cellist
this
leading
point.
Channel Maker by 2. And then Tawny Port.
Should have enough
Red
horse if
Run,
he's good
highest
enough.
honors. Limited liability comes next. Therapist toward the outside. Red Knight is in the center of the course, still 8 lengths from the lead. It is Cellist chased by Red Run. Tawny Port to the inside. Limited liability. Red Knight still has a lot of work to do to catch Cellist, who's got the lead a deep stretch. Red Run, Bold Act, getting through. Bold Act coming after Cellist. Bold Act, Jamie Spencer.
Looks like it was just
to win the Sycamore.
He had plenty of horse there. Just could be as patient as he wanted to be. So that's the turf, and you'd have to admit that seeing those European shippers will be worth the price of admission. It's going to be awful tough for the Americans to compete with them. I think up to the mark is probably our best hope, but Warlike Goddess, you never know. So I'm just looking forward to seeing a great race. I just don't think it's you don't get to see that type of quality from the Europeans come over here too often. So that's why the Breeders' Cup is such a great forum. Hope this helps you with your analysis. And we'll continue with our posting. So I think we've got 3 left, including the Classic and the Turf Sprint. So be on the lookout for those. And if you do like what you see here, of course, please like and subscribe. And thanks to all of you who have recently signed on. We appreciate the support. And that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon. And until then, be well.